This is going to be a Blu-ray update. It's going to be in two parts. The first titles I'm going to show were sent to me from Our Video. Really grateful because they're three really fantastic releases. The first one is a Steelbook release of White of the Eye, Donald Cammell's 1987 film. The brief synopsis of the film is David Keith plays Paul White. He's a family man and a hi-fi engineer. He also happens to be a disturbed serial killer who's targeting women in a small Arizona town. The police quickly pinpoint him as their main suspect, but he manages to keep the deceit and stave off their attentions. However, things come to a head when his wife, played by Cathy Moriarty from Raging Bull, she discovers her husband's dark secret, and a revelation that basically proves the catalyst for this crazy, spectacular final third of the film. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I've never really seen a film like it. I mean, the first half an hour or so, really, the only film I could really reminded me of it, not really in story, but I think kind of in style with the soft focus, cat people, that really reminded me of that. It's very surreal, very unusual film, really well directed by Cammell, who did directed Performance and The Demon Seed. Some really unique touches. David Keith, I've seen him in Brubaker and Firestarter. He is absolutely fantastic in this film. Very much like in Firestarter, he does the family man thing really well. Really nails that. Even though he's playing an absolute lunatic in certain scenes, the family situation with his wife and his daughter, he really nails. You can really believe the part. And he really plays it with some really dark humour. The scene when it's kind of the immortal line of the film, especially when you come to it, you can't help but laugh at it when he says, "You can't hide anything in this house." You'll know the scene when you come to it. You can't help but laugh. It's absolutely just absurd, especially given the situation. Soundtrack's fantastic, really unique, really diverse. Also uses Vesta La Juba, one of my really kind of favourite classical pieces of music. It's played twice at pivotal moments. It's the idea of the man living behind a mask for public appearances. And it truly is a great film. The ending, the climax is just unbelievable. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I never have quite seen an ending like it. It's really mind blowing. Now the transfer, I believe the only previous release was a bare bones Dutch anamorphic DVD. I didn't have that release, but I think it's fair to say this the Arrow Blu-ray is a huge upgrade. And it's probably going to be the definitive release for such an obscure film. They've done a fantastic job with the transfer. Sometimes the images can look a little soft or bleached, but I think that's obviously faithful to the source. Truthfully, I can't imagine the film looking any better than this, really. Tons of extras, as most our releases have. There's a commentary by Sam Umland, Cammell's biographer. There's Donald Cammell, The Ultimate Performance. It's quite a lengthy BBC documentary on Cammell. Features Nicholas Roeg, director Don't Look Now, Mick Jagger, James Fox, and a few others. It's very interesting because I never really knew much about the director. There's two deleted scenes. Both sadly have no sound. There's just a commentary from Sam Umland. It introduces a character played by John Dale, I think, and he doesn't appear in the film. His part isn't really huge, but it fills in a few kind of pieces, particularly with Cathy Moriarty's storyline. Fills little bits and pieces here and there. It's not pivotal to the storyline. It's also got the flashback sequences originally shot. As seen in the film, you see a younger Cathy Moriarty with her boyfriend at the time. It was subjected to a bleach bypass kind of lab process, increasing contrast for a stylistic effect. I think they might have thought within the film it might have confused people you know, is this a flashback or isn't it? So reason why they went for that effect. It's also got Into the White, filming of White of the Eye. It's an interview with cinematographer Larry McConkey. It's quite honest interview because I think he had a few problems with this film. I think he found Kamel quite hard to get along with. Often he'd cause a lot of friction between him and another cinematographer. The package itself, I'll just show quickly inside. The frontal art was taken from an old Vestron VHS, I believe. It's fantastic. DVD is also included with this. I'll quickly show inside. That's the Blu-ray. You know, it truthfully is. It's a fantastic release. See the Walking Dead. I think that's Nightmare City. I'll definitely get that. I like that. Quickly show the booklet. It's David Keith there. He plays it so well. Inside the booklet, we have there's a fresh look article. Talks about Kamel's career, about the predominance of schizophrenia within his films, and about various themes and ideas in White of the Eye. It also includes The Argument. It's a short film by Kamel. It's quite a surreal short, directed in the early 70s in the Utah desert. It wasn't finished until I think the mid to late 90s. Yeah, it's a fantastic release. Loads of special features. And it's truly a film that's just utterly unique. It's fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed the film. Also directed by Elliot Kasner as well. Yeah, so there's White of the Eye. Right, the second film they sent me is The Long Goodbye, directed by Robert Altman, 1973. This is from the Arrow Academy releases. The plot is basically it was adapted from a Raymond Chandler novel. The film begins with a Los Angeles private investigator, Philip Marlowe, played here, I think, fantastic by Elliot Gould. He's visited by an old friend, a guy called Terry Lennox, and he agrees to drop him off in Tijuana. When Marlowe gets back, he learns that Terry is wanted for the murder of his wife. But the case is suddenly closed when Terry turns up dead, having apparently committed suicide. Marlowe doesn't really think the facts add up, but he quickly gets another assignment, tasked by the wife of a famous novelist, Roger Wade. He's played in this by the great Sterling Hayden, who's just magnificent, to find her missing husband. It turns out the two cases may well be related. I don't really want to say any more than that because it would spoil the real kind of mystery and beauty of the film. You know, how the mystery unfolds is fantastic. It's a really layered film. Now, it's not the first time the character Philip Marlowe has appeared on screen. He was most famously played by Humphrey Bogart in absolute 40s classic Big Sleep. And he's also twice played by Robert Mitchum in the 70s. I thought Gold, again, and I mentioned earlier, he was just unbelievable in this film. His sardonic style is perfect. I think a lot of Chandler, well, I know Chandler fans had a real problem with his performance. It's probably because I haven't read any of Marlowe's novels. I didn't really have a problem with it. Sterling Hayden is fantastic. I was also impressed by the guy who played Marty Augustine, Mark Rydell. He also directed one of my favourite westerns, The Cowboys. He was actually more of a director by trade. Really quite reminiscent of Chinatown. Probably more self-aware and less serious than that film. Also, that very funny opening scene with his Philip Marlowe with his cat. If you ever had a cat, it will definitely ring true. You'll definitely know what I'm talking about when you've seen it. I found the Coke bottle scene. Now, that film wasn't in the novel or in the screenplay. It was kind of done off the cuff by Altman. Very shocking. Very shocking. It kind of shocked me when I saw it. Scored by John Williams. It was just fantastic. He co-wrote the title song "The Long Goodbye," and the score is essentially variations of this track. I love the ending as well. I thought the ending was fantastic. Now, a lot of the fans of the book, they didn't really like it. They thought it was a real departure from Chandler's Marlowe. But to me, it was a lot more satisfying, particularly when you've seen the film and you come to the end. It's very, very satisfying. Now, the transfer, I think there was an old MGM anamorphic DVD, and there was also a Blu-ray released a few years ago in France, which I understand the visual quality was very poor. Now, I found the hour release though. I found the quality, really, really good. Really impressed with the transfer. A lot of reviews impressed with it as well. It looks excellent and appears to be very, very faithful to the source. Again, there's a lot more extras on this. There's an interview of Elliot Gould, which goes on for nearly an hour. He's a good talker as well. I like listening to Elliot Gould. Some really interesting stories. There's a Robert Altman giggling gave in. It's an hour-long Channel 4 retrospective on his career, which I think was done in '96. And there's also a brief documentary called Rip Van Marlow, focused on the old MGM DVD, which features interviews with Robert Altman and Elliot Gould. I'll have a look inside here. Right, off the disc. I like that cover art as well. I like very good cover art. Right, let's have a look inside at the booklet. Now, inside the booklet, we have quite a few articles. We've got the Long Goodbye article. Talks about Chandler's novels and how the adaptation differs a lot from the books. Being a different portrayal of Marlowe. The rest of the cast and notable themes in the film. There's contemporary reviews. The East Coast reviews were quite favourable. The West Coast reviews totally hated it. I mean, they really slated Altman. I mean, slanderous kind of character attacks on him. Really, really quite bad. There's an interview with Lee Brackett. She wrote the screenplay. Talks about Altman's innovations, such as the cat scene at the start and the Coke bottle scene. There's a funny strip scene as well. Arnold Schwarzenegger plays one of the heavies of the gangster in the film. You'll notice him. There's a lot of creative decisions as well in adapting the book. There's an interview with Alan Rudolph. He's a long-time colleague and friend of Altman. Talks about relationship with Altman and working on the film as a second assistant director. Talks about how Altman allowed a lot of improvisations within the film, such as the scene with Gold and Hayden are talking on the beach. And there's also a creative post-flashing technique for The Long Goodbye. Cinematographer Vilmos Sigismund talks about the flashing effect used to give the film a quite smoky quality, low contrast with muted colours, which I think really fits well with the mood of the film. This is also covered during an interview with Sigismund among the extras. So yeah, I mean, just real kind of classic kind of 70s neo-noir, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Fantastic release. Right, the third release they sent me, which being a massive fan of Lee Marvin, I've been wanted to see, Into the Killers by Don Siegel. It's 1964 film. Another one of our Academy releases. The plot basically entails it's based on a very loosely on an Ernest Hemingway short story. Basically shares the same premise of two hitmen killing a man who accepts his fate with remarkable readiness and courage. The two hitmen, played by the legendary Lee Marvin and Clu Gallagher, they're puzzled by the victim's lack of fight, and they're also quite a high price for the contract for the killing, and they decide to investigate the past of their victim. Their victim was Johnny North, played by John Cassavetes. He's marvellous in this film. Through extensive flashbacks, we learn how North, a former racing driver, came to ruin when he met Sheila Farr, played by Angie Dickinson, a woman with close ties to gang boss Jack Browning, played by future United States President Ronald Reagan. This was his final film. Again, I'll leave the plot here because I don't really want to spoil it, because it's a fantastic film. Just play it out, watch it. It's unbelievable. Don Siegel also directed Dirty Harry, Escape from Alcatraz. Directs this fantastically well. Very brutal as well for the time, I thought. There's some scenes that, 64, really, really quite shocking. Again, great score by John Williams. It was previously released with double pack, Criterion double pack, with 1946 version. Ours released the first time it's released on Blu-ray. You get both the Television Academy ratio and the widescreen theatrical versions. Both look equally good to me. I personally preferred the widescreen version. A few specks and scratches here and there, but this is probably to be expected given its TV origins. On the whole, it looks very, very good. With the extras, we have Reagan Kills. There's an interview with writer Mark Elliott. Don Siegel interview from French TV 1984. It's quite short. It's only about 10 minutes. Doesn't really talk much about the killers. More about, kind of a retrospective on his career in general. Now, my favourite though extra on this is Screen Killer, Dwayne Epstein on Lee Marvin's biographer. It's absolutely fantastic. It goes on for about half an hour, but truthfully, I could have watched 2 hours of it. It's fantastic. It talks about Marvin's life and work, touches upon his military career, post-traumatic syndrome when he came back from World War II. His unit suffered terrible casualties. I think he was one of 7 men out of 250 men. The rest lost their lives, and I think it affected Lee Marvin, and I think he took to the bottle. Quite bad alcoholism. Talks about his public persona, how he messed around with interviewers. He also observes that the depiction of the two serial killers, the two hitmen in the film. You can also see traces of it, Vincent and Jules in Pulp Fiction. But again, it's 30 minutes long, but it truly is fantastic. Really insight into a really kind of great man. Such an interesting. So many actors back then led such lives. Really led lives. Lee Marvin, Neville Brand, many others. They really. Charles Durning as well. Right, the booklet. It talks about the previous 1946 adaptation, how Seagal's adaptation differed from Hemingway's story. Points out this was a film that really established Lee Marvin as a leading man. Later on, he did kind of roles in Make Him in Point Blank and Prime Cut. It's also got a thing about contemporary reviews. Film didn't do too well among American critics. They saw it as quite sadistic, but it was better received in the UK with a cinematic release. And also there's Shooting the Killers, extracts from Don Siegel's autobiography, published in 1993. This is really fantastic. Siegel's very frank about the whole production, really insightful and funny. He talks about the meetings with Marvin, Clu Gallagher, Cassavetes and Reagan. I believe Reagan and Marvin didn't particularly get on. Not for kind of politics, even though which they differed, but more than the fact that I think Lee Marvin found Reagan quite kind of smarmy and false. He's also got that scene there. It talks about how Lee Marvin was, even though it's different because the policeman isn't actually in that shot near the end. Lee Marvin was basically completely drunk near the end of the film, but I think it works perfectly, and you'll know in the final scene. It's probably one of I won't spoil it, but it's fantastic acting. You wouldn't believe the guy was drunk because he was absolutely unbelievable. Really nailed it, and again another fantastic release. So really thank you to Arrow for sending me those titles. I also got another Arrow release. I got this myself. Steelbook of Big Trouble in Little China. John Carpenter film. It's not my favourite John Carpenter film, but it's still a great film. There's a really good extra on this with a Kurt Russell interview, really frank, candid interview, talking about not the troubles with the film, but the way the production company kind of left them to dry with publicity, which is why the film kind of bombed when it was first released. You can tell he harbours a lot of resentment towards them for that, but it's a really good release. Right, I also picked up the Eureka Master Cinemas release of Wake and Fright. Probably one of the most nightmarish films I think personally ever released. One of my favourite Australian movies. I'm not really going to go into much detail about it. There's a really good review done by another YouTuber called James Merchant. I'll put the link below. He does it really does a good job. Real nightmarish film. The cast is fantastic in this. Donald Pleasant, Gary Bond, Jack Thompson. The kangaroo hunting sequence is one of the most disturbing scenes ever put to celluloid. It really is. It's very, very disturbing. It's a fantastic film. I'd recommend it to anybody. Right, I picked up Fortress, Christopher Lambert. Really good fun. Stuart Gordon, some really good gore in it. Futuristic prison, just crazy. Really good film. A lot of guys you recognise in the cast. Yeah, really Kurtwood Smith as well, villain in RoboCop. It's really good. Really enjoyed it. Good laugh. Picked up a few horror titles. Synapse release of Intruder, director's cut. Really good film. The gore in this is fantastic. I like the other release with the work print, but yeah, you know, it's kind of goes for quite pricey now. But I might get around to it at some point. Picked up Maniac, the Blue Underground. Now I was really, I missed out on the media book release. That's going for daft money now. I really wanted that, but maybe one day I might get it. But Maniac is just one. It's just a fantastic film. One of my favourite deaths in any movie, with shotgun death in this. It's Tom Savini just gets his head just blown off his shoulders. It's fantastic. And I also picked up a Dario Argento film which I've never actually seen, Deep Red. I've seen quite a lot of Argento films. I hear this is actually one of his best. David Hemmings. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing that. 2 more titles to show. Well, one more and then I'll show. Right, I picked up The Wrestler Steelbook from Plain Archive. Really good release. Other people have got this and they'll probably show it in more detail. It's a beautiful release. It's a fantastic film. I really enjoy it. I used to be a big wrestling fan, still am. I don't really watch a lot of the modern stuff, but I think as a wrestling fan you can really understand it's quite close to the bone with, you know, the big name wrestler. It's all gone downhill, drug problems, kind of on the constant independent scene, doesn't really know when to retire. But fair play to Mickey Rourke, he really took some bumps in this. He's matched with Necro Butcher and Ernest the Cat Miller. I really like it. You know, I think as a wrestling fan you appreciate it, and yeah, I enjoyed the film. And last show in this update is the collector's edition of The Hobbit / The Smaug. It's really great release. It comes with Blu-ray, it's Thorin, lovely lenticular cover, and it also comes with the 2 Guardians of Erebor. I think out of all the different ideas Jackson had in this, I really thought he nailed the dwarvish element. I thought that when I first saw Erebor, he absolutely just nailed it. It's absolutely fantastic. Look at the detail on that; it's fantastic. I mean, if I compare it to Naren from the Argonath, you can see the size difference there. But even though that dwarfs him, you know, pardon the pun, but like, I mean, yeah, it's really fantastic. The size of them, they look really good. I mean, when I first saw the first film, I thought those would make beautiful bookends. You know, I just had a feeling they were going to release them. You know, they were too good not to. Film itself, I really enjoyed. Part of it being a kind of a Tolkienist, not a purist by any means, but I'd like to have seen, you know, more of Beorn. You know, more of kind of other little things as well. I'd like to see the Thrain backstory, which I think, you know, it's going to be shown in the extended edition. I wasn't too fond of the made-up Toriel character. Didn't really see the point myself. But, you know, I mean, to be honest, you know, the problems, you know, the good far outweighs the bad. And I can't wait for the 3rd film. Hopefully they release a statue. I'd like to see Bolg in battle with Beorn. Something similar to that. Yeah, they're fantastic. They really are. They're really beautiful. Yeah, so that is the end of the first part of the update. And yeah, the next update is a mixture of Blu-rays and DVDs and Digibooks and Steelbooks. And yeah, I'll be back soon. So thanks for watching.